Welcome to today's talk session. My name is Deidre Moss, and I am the host of Can We Talk? Today, we continue our series on Can We Talk Politics. Today, Can We Talk welcomes the leader of the Bahamas Constitution Party, BCP, Miss Ali McIntosh. I hope I got that name right.
Yes, you did.
Great. So at this time, I want to pass the virtual mic to you to have you introduce yourself so you can take over.
Good afternoon. I am, as you say, Ali McIntosh. As you say, servant leader of the Bahamas Constitution Party. I prefer that you ask me some questions, and I'll be glad to entertain whatever questions. Although I'm a journalist, I've kind of gotten used to being on the other side of the questions instead.
No problem. So we're going to get into our questions, but I just want you to introduce yourself and who you are to the viewers. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Again, as I say, I'm Ali McIntosh, a servant leader of the Constitution Party. I am a journalist by profession, a radio broadcaster and a journalist. I worked at ZNS for a time in terms of broadcasting, electronic broadcasting. In terms of the print media, I started at the Bahama Herald, which is a newspaper, political newspaper. At the age of 20, I worked at the Bahama Journal, and I wrote for the Nassau Guardian, the Tribune, and the Turks and Caicos Times over, I guess, a period of 3 years being a columnist, contributing a columnist to the newspaper over some time. So I've spent most of my life in the public arena in terms of broadcasting and being a journalist. I mean, there's a lot more to tell, but at least that's the basic background.
Yes, that's the basic background. So I want to thank you for joining us today, and thank you for sharing.
Good to be here with you, Deidre.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we'll get into it. We know that at this time, we're moving into the political season, and a lot of persons have presented themselves forward. A lot of candidates have come forward to put themselves as political candidates. And so can you briefly tell us about yourself? How and why did you decide to enter politics, and how and why did you establish the Bahamas Constitution Party?
Well, first, in regards to coming into politics, I think as a young person in school, I was very much active in the student movement, the student Christian movement, the student government movement in school. I was a young preacher in school. I was involved in the speech and debate club, everything. So being involved in junior achievement in the Kiwanis Club, it was obviously building me for a place in public life because I was brought up by pastoral parents. So they taught us how to be leaders out there. We were always leaders in the church as young children. And so I think I came to the arena, to public life as I was brought up, as I was trained, as I was socialized to be. And so I didn't really just choose to go into public life. I would say it chose me. And I'm saying that because at the age of 20, as I said earlier, I went into broadcasting. I went into newspaper journalism and then broadcasting. So as a broadcaster and as a journalist, you become interested in everything that's happening in the community. And I think as I went on into the community life, I got involved in youth activism with the National Committee for Youth Renewal. And somewhere in there, we realized that what we were trying to do would have to be done based on legislation. A lot of things we tried to do did not happen, and we realized we might have to go further. And so that was kind of where it seemed to be looking for a lot of people in terms of me approaching politics, but I really did not approach politics until the Lord really gave me a vision about going into politics. And that was the time that I really entered frontline politics with the Bahamas Constitution Party. And it is because I founded the party. Yeah, and so that's what happened. That's how I got to this place of public life. I think there was a second part to that question, you think? Oh, your mic is mute.
Thank you so much. Yes,
Yes.
the first part was to tell us briefly about yourself and how and why you established the BCP.
Oh, yes. The second part about establishing the BCP and the principles of which it stood on, um, if I may, the Bahamas Constitution Party was started, as I said, having been into youth work and going closer and closer to it. In 1998, I was given a vision about um, this agenda. Those instruction was to, and it was very articulate, to run 39 candidates under the banner of the Bahamas Constitution Party. I was asked in that dream to contact Sir Lyndon Pindling and exact from him the original intent of the preamble of the Constitution. And so I followed that through. I spoke with Sir Lyndon. He was able over the next 2 years, him and Sir Randall, to be able to tell me what was the original intent of the preamble of the Constitution. And that began my research in terms of what the real principles of the party should be. And that was based on the preamble of the Constitution. Now, the preamble of the Constitution talks about what the founders originally intended to create as a nation. And if we look in that preamble, it will say that our freedom was guaranteed by a national commitment to self-discipline, to loyalty, to unity, and an abiding respect for Christian values and the rule of law. Now, you would know that in the 1960s, we were coming out of colonialism, post-slavery colonialism. So the founders' intent was very strong in regards to creating a nation that was based basically not only on the values of justice and equality, but it was also based on what the people wanted, which was freedom. What the people wanted was their labor to not be exploited. Because in colonialism, we were paid very little, and we worked our fathers, our parents, our mothers, and forefathers, grandfathers, and grandparents. They worked very hard for little money. And so they wanted to create, the founders intended when they created the nation, to create a nation where the labor was not exploited and where lives were not frustrated by deprivation. So they did that in order so that the community would come to a new place where they can live, they can prosper and be happy. And the Bahamas Constitution Party, having gone into that research, having spoken to the founding fathers, almost all of them during the early research, we were able to speak to Sir Randall, Sir Lyndon, both of them mentored me. The others spoke to me, and we came to the conclusion that the work that the founders intended was not completed. And the Bahamas Constitution Party carries that to the next level with its work at this time.
Thank you. I want to thank you for sharing the foundations of the party. And, when I heard you talk about your background and how you would have transitioned into politics, I heard you talk about being a part of various student groups and then speaking with other persons who talk about their background. They also share a similar story. So I want to thank you for sharing that. That's kind of like something that is like a commonality between you all.
Okay.
I want to move into our next question. I know you would have talked about basically the principles of the party and the foundation of the BCP. So I want to talk about the analysis of the environment. What is your analysis of the political environment in the country? Do you think there's room for a third or fourth party? Do you think, well, let's go to that and then I'll go to the next question.
Okay, the analysis, whether there's room for a third or fourth party. Deirdre, the fact that, as I said about the founders and what they intended, they wanted to create a nation, and what they sought in terms of majority rule and independence is what they got. We became in 1973 a sovereign democratic state. But if you look at the Constitution, according to Article 71, Article 71 states that the executive management of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is invested in Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth. So if Queen Elizabeth is the executive manager, per se, management is responsible for it, it means then, although we say we are a sovereign democratic state, we don't have full independence. What we are is a parliamentary monarchy, or what we call a parliamentary monarchy. That's where we are. And the reason we are is because Her Majesty is head of state. Now, in this regard, they did the kind of constitution that they gave us was for post-colonialized independent state from Britain, right? But what is happening in England or the English parliament system is not what we have. We are surviving on a two-party system, but in England, there is more parties than two parties. So which means what the Bahamas Constitution Party want to do is to go to constitutional democracy. Since it is that in these last 50 years, we have not been able to move to more than two parties, we want to go to constitutional democracy that opens wider the opportunity for more participants or more stakeholders, political stakeholders in the institution of governance. And so it is, we believe that a third, a fourth, or a fifth party can be involved when we go to constitutional democracy. So when you ask me that question, I am going to have to add that parliamentary constitutional democracy, where the Bahamas Constitution Party wants to go, which is a republic system of governance, it opens the door for more participants. We don't have to stay to a two-party state. We can be to a place where there can be place for more stakeholders, more divergent interests in terms of politics in the governance of the nation.
Do you think Bahamians are ready for that?
That's my evening coffee. Bahamians are ready. I believe Bahamians are ready for several reasons. Of course, we want to thank all the principals who would have brought us to a place where we don't just have the College of the Bahamas, we have the University of the Bahamas. In order to be able to tend to a university, it means we would have to send our sons and daughters off to get master's and PhD degrees. When your country, when the people who are operating, or the principals are operating your country, and I'm sorry I'm doing so much background, are educated elsewhere, they are exposed to other things. And that's why we have the university, because we brought all of the experience from other places to this place, or to this Bahamas, where we are now educating at least the first, the second generation of university graduates is now being graduated based on experience from all over the world. So the people in the country, and not only that, we've sent our children off, in addition to those who teach in this hour, but the people who, the children we have sent off, they have come back. They've seen in the world that there is constitutional democracy, that it works other places. They have seen in the world that there can be third and fourth parties that are operating. So the Bahamian people, let's not even talk about television. They're watching, they're saying, we're encouraging our young people to read. We have Google. All of these have prepped and sensitized the public to be ready for a new style of governance. In fact, I believe that the young people in this country is calling for it. They see it, they want something else. Because number one, young people are not corrupt. They have to be corrupted. And if they are not corrupted, they want what they see, as they are innocently learning what the world is showing to them, and they want something else. And so this country is ready. The young people, I believe, is ready for a new kind of system in this country. And so we are here, we're still doing this after 23 years because we believe the time has come. The stage has been set. The Bahamian people is ready for something else. And the Bahamas Constitution Party offers them something else because we know that the time would come where it has to happen.
So as we analyze the political environment, and we talked about whether or not there would be room, if there's room for a third and fourth party, can we also talk about women leadership? I know that's kind of controversial. You know, it's kind of controversial.
I don't find it very controversial because I am a woman. Go ahead.
Do you think that the country is prepared? We have never, I mean, well, I can't say that because we did have deputy, a woman in leadership. So, however, do you think that the country is prepared to accept a female leader as prime minister?
That is only, I would say it's a tricky question in that this in that, and I can only say that because when we look at the dynamics of the electorate is more than 51% women. So you would believe if the electorate is more than 51% women, that we would automatically elect a woman. But I don't think that even all women may be ready for a woman prime minister. Because
that's powerful. That's powerful. Go ahead.
Because I got a statement from someone yesterday that indicated that they're not sure, and this is a woman, whether they are prepared to support women leadership based on some of the experiences they have had. So that made me know that all women are not ready for women's leadership. But I do believe that a lot of women are ready for women's leadership. In fact, there are a lot of men who are ready for women's leadership, because what they are seeing in terms of political leadership, that if they've had 5 men so far, or at least 4 men so far, and those men have been, 2 of them have been twice, 1 man have been 25 years. So in this 40-something years of 50-something years of majority rule and 48 of independence, I think we're approaching the 48th year of independence. We are looking at, if a woman qualifies to lead, then she should be given the opportunity to do so. And that is from both men and women. While some people are not ready, there are a lot of people that are ready. So there's going to be a little concern about some people who are voicing their opinion. We don't want to see a woman prime minister. It's not happening. There are some who are saying the time is right that it happens. And I do believe some of the ground that has been tilled over the last 2 years, 3 years, the last 5 years, you've indicated we've had a woman as the deputy leader, the deputy prime minister. We've had a woman, met several women as the governor general, as is the queen. So we are governed by the queen. The only glass ceiling really that has to be broken in this environment would be a woman sitting as the prime minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Otherwise, we've had women in almost every place. Chief Justice, the head of a court of appeal, as I said, the governor general. So there are many places that women have broken that ceiling. It is just this one glass ceiling to break. And I do believe, despite the tussling between or struggling between the ideas, that many men and women are ready for a new kind of leadership, and a woman's leadership, they believe, may be able to bring that kind of change into the political environment.
Well, it's definitely scary to hear of a woman say that she's not prepared to accept another woman in leadership. And that's very scary.
It is.
And that's also, yeah, that's scary. And also what I wanted to mention, that we may not be able to go into it as much, but look at the women who have presented themselves for leadership, political leadership, and we look at how they have been criticized. Are they held at the same standards that men are held to? Are we looking at who they're married to? Are we looking at their spouses? Are we looking at the spouses of their male counterparts as women have been examined and criticized? So it's definitely some things that we need to think about. But I wonder if we hold men and women up to the same standards, or are we just quick to criticize our?
No, we don't. No, we don't, Deidre. I must tell you that men and women leaders are not held to the same standard. I have to say that because as a leader, and I sometimes have to say it always to my friends, that men and women almost have to do more, almost double what man is required to do in terms of leadership. She have to be smarter, she have to be wiser, she have to be quicker, and then she's expected to have more. And then on the other hand, men are able, and then she can't raise money as quickly. That is a concern too, in terms of women going forward in leadership. Raising the money for the campaign becomes a difficulty for her. With men, they raise money pretty quickly. I mean, they can say, hey, listen, yeah, I'm running. And I mean, the chances may be slim for him, but another man will give him money just as quick. But we women have to work harder, and sometimes we're not able to get the funding that we need. And it is the truth. It is the truth.
Wow.
The
Wow, that's an
standards are
interesting
so
point.
different.
Wow. Could
But
you elaborate on that just a little bit more? You're saying that you would find that men would kind of come in quickly to support other men, but it may be more difficult for a woman to raise finances for her campaign.
Yes, yes, Deidre, that is a point. I've experienced that. We are campaigning, the Bahamas Constitution Party is campaigning. Of course, our campaign is a very, to some degree, very controversial, but it's also conservative. But I find just in elaborating on the point, for women, it is more difficult to raise money. I am involved with almost all of the women's organizations in the Bahamas. And I'm not talking about every individual one, but every group umbrella organization that works with this women agenda for women equality, for women violence against women, in terms of parliamentary, in terms of the UN, in terms of the Bureau of Women's Affairs, all of these I am involved with. And that seemed to be the number one concern. It is more difficult for women to raise money. Now, what that means is that women must help women to raise money. So that has been something we keep saying, that women must help women. If we're going to do this, if we're going to put more women in leadership, because the point is about putting more women at the table. See, a lot of people, when we talk about this in a global sense, people consider feminism and, oh, that's all you're pursuing, but that's not really the big picture. What the big picture of us women working for is that more women are at the table so that the decision-making would be different. So it's not just about women coming forward and women being in leadership, but that more women are at the table in order for the decision-making to be different. That's what the agenda is here. So if a woman is elected because we are trying to put more women to the table, that's a result of where we see will be achieved. But the whole agenda is to get more women at the table, at the cabinet table, at the table where the bigger decisions are made. So when the decisions are made, everything is taken care of for our children, for our spouses, for our homes, for our country. So it's a bigger picture than just having women elected, but that the decisions are also made jointly by men and women.
Definitely. This is a discussion that we really need to dive a little bit deeper into. And also, so do you think that we're ready as a country to accept a female prime minister?
I would say yes. I would say yes, because whoever's qualified, that's the primary thing. What I'm hearing, of course, I'm in a lot of meetings in terms of political meetings where I'm the only woman. It has been so for a long time. I'm glad for Miss Arintia Kumalafi, who is now a second woman who is a leader of a political party. But I've been in a lot of meetings, and I have been accepted by a lot of men who believe that I have the intellectual ability and the social maturity, but intellectual maturity to do this. So I do believe that the country is ready. The country is ready. If they should elect me, I am ready to do this.
You're ready to serve.
I am ready to serve. I do believe, and that is the context, I'm glad you said that, because that is the context in which we come. Men and women who was prepared to serve the nation, not just for political sake, but for the sake of doing what is right for the country and for the next generation of people.
Thank you. And so as you talk about being ready to serve, can you share your plans for your constituency, and what area what would you like to focus on?
Well, I live in the Garden Hills constituency where I'm running. Now, I've before time, if you may, I've before time have run in North Abaco, which is still my homeland. Based on the COVID-19 and all the protocols and not being able to run up and down, being a leader, we had to make a decision. But I live in the Garden Hills constituency. To a great degree, the Garden Hills constituency is a suburban area. So most of those areas where there's adequate housing, persons in the middle class. And so those kinds of issues are taken care of. But there is one thing that I do see in the Garden Hills community where I live, because we are now creating a lot of new subdivisions, it is taking long for the government to actually name those streets. I was in a new area just a couple of, probably about a week ago. And in that area, they have been there more than 12 years and there are no street signs. In fact, where I live, it took 12 years for me to get a street sign on my corner. So that is a problem in a lot of areas in Garden Hills because there is a lot of subdivisions that are being created in the Blue Hills area off Harold Road, even in the south near Fire Trail Road where I am. So that is a basic issue. You have people who can't afford to buy a house. They're living on a street that has no name. So that is an issue that I am going to go after in terms of Garden Hills. We also, in terms of green space, there is some green space, but we are going to need more green space where children can actually play. In the area where I live, we don't have any playground per se. Even though everyone have their own house, they might have a little space in their yard, but those are green spaces, street signs, street lighting. Those are very important. There's a lot of shrub in the area too. You know, it's because it is suburban. Those are things to be cleaned, to continue to stay immaculate. Let's put it that way. Because when you build your house, you want your house to continue to keep its value. And so in the Garden Hills constituency, those are some of the concerns. In other areas, there might be more drastic and concern regarding housing, regarding garbage. These are not the bigger issues in these areas. But of course, in some places we do have where there is some derelict vehicles that will need to be cleaned up. But there are only smaller pockets in this Garden Hills constituency where we would need to do those kinds of things in terms of the cleanup. But otherwise, most of the place has a very good standing when it comes to housing, street lighting, but those matters in smaller pockets will need to be fixed.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And do you have any additional comments that you would like to add?
When it comes to the country, right? When it comes to the country, and I know last week you had some of the Bahamas Constitution Party persons on. I would like to invite people to go online our website, bcpparty.org, bcpparty.org. They can go online our website. We have a 94-page booklet called the Blueprint for Governance. And in that Blueprint for Governance, there are so many ideas in which people under BCP government will be able to say, hey, I like this, could I do this? And we're going to help you get started. The second thing is that the Bahamas Constitution Party is committed to an agenda where we feed ourselves. So when it comes to agribusiness, farming, fishing, if you don't work, you can't eat, right? So if we are going to be able to be independent from the outside world, a lot of people are concerned about globalization, about one world order. If we are not feeding ourselves, then we are going to be subject to what everybody else says, what the globalists impose upon the country. And so the Bahamas Constitution Party want to go with the first agenda is agribusiness, is feeding ourselves in order that we will be able to dictate our own operations, how we run our country, our own sovereignty. If that does not happen, our sovereignty will be compromised by everybody else's and what it is they want to see happen in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That's one of the major things based on your time. If you had more time, I will tell you, or you can encourage me when to go on.
You could share, continue to share.
Yeah, as I indicated, agribusiness is our first primary order of business. One of our second primary order of business is the matter of the restructuring of the educational system. That is important. Because right now we go all the way to grade 12 and children come out either with BJC, BGCSE, and it appears that in order for them to do certain things, they need to have 10 BGCSE, 9 BGCSE with 8. But every child does not learn in that way. And so we are going to structure or restructure the system that by the 9th grade, the 8th and the 9th grade, children are being prepared for their careers. I know that when I speak to young people, and I've been involved in youth work for a long time, I always ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? The reason is, at the age of 13 and 14, you should know what you want to be. I knew what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a world changer. And it appears that those desires are still with me. So we have to, in the 8th and the 9th grade, begin to focus young people on what it is they want to do in their life, what it is they want to be. And so when we do that, we are going to cause the educational system to begin to provide electives so they can focus only on that and not something else. Because you can give a child all of the 9 subjects that we do now, and none of them are what they want to do. They want to be a carpenter. You understand me? They want to be a plumber. They may be able to work good with their hands. They may be even going into money management, but none of those things are intently focused on in the educational system. We want to produce persons who work in NASA, as we do have 2 young people now, and a young lady too. So if we're going to do that, we are going to have to focus them regarding what they want to do from the age of 12, 13, 14 years old, that middle school time. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to restructure the educational system. We'll talk more about that in terms of what the programs will be, but we want to make sure that we produce children coming out of school with a career path, with a career goal. And that is what we will do under BCP government when it comes to education. Those are 1 or 2 of our primary goals. Of course, we talk about constitutional democracy. That is important, go into a republic system of governance so that we can have the system accountable, transparent, so that people can actually, the political agenda can actually stay. That is part of what we want to do.
Ms. McIntosh, I want to thank you for sharing today. I want to thank you for your insight, and we talked about your transition into politics. We also talk about the perception of women in politics, and I think that's definitely a conversation that we need to just dig a little bit deeper into. Yeah, but I really want to thank you for sharing today, and as we wind down, as we close off the session, is there anything else you'd like to add? I know you directed us to your page. Is there anything else? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, in closing, as I said again, our page, bcpparty.org. When you go online, very close in the front page, you can go straight to the blueprint and be able to see all of the plans of the 94-page document. Also, the Bahamas Constitution Party is still looking for a few good men and women. We've released our candidates. We have a strong leadership, a very deep bench, but we are still looking for candidates. We are not just picking anyone. We're looking for strong men and women who cannot be bought or sold. As you know, the next level of development in this country is going to require men and women who have the stamina to be able to do the work to change the nation. And so it is important that men and women who will come forward are persons who are prepared to do the work, to sacrifice and to serve, as you said. So that is important. And so they can call us, they can go online, our website, all of our phone numbers are there on our contact page, and they will be able to reach me or any one of our leaders to be able to come forward and serve with the Bahamas Constitution Party.
You hit on one powerful point, and you just left it. You hit and you run. You can't do that. You can't hit and run.
Which one?
You said you're looking for people who cannot be bought and sold.
Yeah, that's important. That's an important point, Deidre. What happened is where we are in the nation, the government of the nation, the successive governments, so both governments, PLP and FNM, has been committed to a great degree to the oligarchy in the country. And when we say that, we mean things have stayed as they have been over the past at least 25 to 30 years because of the commitment to the oligarchy. Now, the oligarchy actually support almost every political party, that whenever and whoever wins, they still is in control. The Bahamas Constitution Party is committed to stand against the oppression that we have seen in the country, and we have determined not to be financed by the oligarchy. And we have not taken their financing, we have not taken their funding. So we are wanting persons who come to this campaign to not be able to be bought or sold, who are not prepared to say, no, no, I'm going after the money. Because we know it takes money to fund the campaign, but the point is, it is required that the greater picture in the work of globalization and what is in the Bahamas and what needs to happen in this country is going to require men and women who are not going to run after the money and say, I'm going after the money, forget about integrity. We want people who could say integrity, more noble than expediency, is never negotiable. That's one of the values of the Bahamas Constitution Party. Go on our page, on our philosophy page, you will see it there. Integrity, more noble than expediency, is never negotiable. And that is the kind of men and women we're looking for, who is going to want to serve the country first, not themselves. Servant leadership is a key. So when we say that, it is because our commitment is to servant leadership. Our commitment is to serving the nation before we serve ourselves. It's just like Rotary, service above self, and get the work done.
McIntosh, you're leaving on a powerful note. That's a powerful one. You're looking for people who cannot be bought and sold. It's powerful. I want to thank you for joining us today. And you shared your page. I hope that you would have persons who would visit your page, or persons who would be interested in presenting themselves forward. And so I would like to thank you for joining us today, for being our guest today. Thank you for sharing of your time. Thank you for sharing your time. I would also like to thank our viewers for listening in. Like our page for future notifications of upcoming talks. Comment under our videos and let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you want us to talk about. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Instagram, we're on Twitter, and we're on TikTok under Can We Talk. Thank you and good evening. Thank you, Ms. McIntosh.
Thank you. Share your page with us, and I will share it with other persons. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Have a great one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.